All right, guys. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the Polaris Ops training for Special Ops Week in October. Okay, so I'm a little scatterbrained because I just did a whole narration on this whole PowerPoint, and guess what? I didn't realize that the microphone wasn't on. So guess who felt like a dummy? Yeah, me. So now I have to do this all over again. So I should be a little bit better. At least I think I will be, just because I've already done it once and I kind of know where I want to go with this. So I just want to say that I'm very excited about this because by us being able to do training like this just shows that we're making steps up on the hierarchy when it comes to special ops. We're being recognized. Every shift has done an amazing job this year, especially when it comes to just helping to develop this whole program. And I think that this is a great opportunity that we have. So I'm excited to present this to you guys. I hope that y'all enjoy it. Um, I don't have a co-host. You guys know that the last few months I kind of had like a little podcast thing going here. I don't have a co-host, so that's just a little different. So sometimes we're going to be bantering with myself, and that's a little weird, but it helps me to kind of get my mind going and figuring out what I want to talk about. So, um, oh, and I just want to say, it has to be like the dumbest thing in the world where you can cut the mic off when you're trying to record. Like, why would they put a feature up here to where I have to tell the mic to cut on when I want to record? Dumbest thing ever. But nevertheless, that's my soapbox. All right, so here are the topics that we're going to cover. We're going to high angle all this stuff here because we're not trying to make this a super technical training this go around. Our goal is to get everybody on the same basic foundation on some general understanding when it comes to the Polaris, and we're going to build from there. I really hope that this is be a good platform to develop into specialized training with the Polaris, come up with new training ideas, training locations to use that big piece of equipment. I think that this is just a great start. So we're going to talk about all these things here and hopefully get everybody on the same page. Okay, so let's talk about first things first, the daily checkoff, or AKA is going to be the pre-trip inspections. Now, look, I get it. I know at one point in time we did have the checkoff sheet that was hanging up on the lockers by the Polaris. And I know, and everybody knows, sometimes we were all on board with it, sometimes we weren't. But when we think about the call volume that we've had in the last few months, and just the demands that this team has placed on it, we have to look in the mirror. We have to look in the mirror, and we got to just face facts that this is something that needs to be done every day, because we never know when we're going to get called out on some crazy call, and we just don't want that time that we get called out to be the time that we didn't take the opportunity to make sure that our equipment was squared away. If we don't do this, then we run the chance of something catastrophic happening, and there's no real way that we can explain that or justify it. If we get called out to, um, we'll say, to the Greenway, and somebody's in serious need of help, which we've done before, there's no way that we can ask for forgiveness for the Polaris not running because we didn't check the oil. The engine is dry and we done locked it up. That's just not going to fly. So I just want to encourage everybody to hold everybody accountable. Each shift, hold each shift accountable, and let's bring ourselves up to the next level. So when it comes to the daily checkoff, we're going to do our walk around, and when we do our walk around, we're looking for things like leaks. We're looking for excess amounts of dirt being built up in some of our connectors. You're going to see what I'm talking about in just a minute, and just any type of damage that needs to be reported, because we can't get things fixed if we don't let somebody know that there's an issue. So we need to pull it out, check the gauges, make our neighbors happy that they're living next to a fire station, and sound those horns, lights. We need to check the oil. We're going to talk about checking the oil in a couple of slides. I'm going to show you where to find the oil dipstick, just in case if you didn't know, because I didn't know it uh, until I got here and figured it out. And we're going to inspect the tire treads for damage or punctures. Now, the tires that we currently have, they are what are they called? No flats, run flat tires. So basically, there's no air in them. There's some other substance in there So when we talk about checking for punctures, that's not really relevant when it comes to our setup. But at some point in time, those tires are going to have to be changed out, and I'm really thinking that they're not going to go with another run flat solution. I think we're going to actually have air in the next ones. So it's just good to get into the habit of it. All right, here's a picture, a couple pictures of our beautiful baby. I want you guys to pay attention to the middle picture and that shoreline. Make sure before you run out of here on the call, or even when you're doing inspections on the Polaris, make sure that you unplug that. I've seen it once or twice personally, where the the cord was not disconnected and it was snatched out. And when we're doing that, we're running the risk of damaging a lot of important things, including the wall receptacle and things that's on the Polaris itself. So just be careful, guys. So up here is a short video on just what we should all be doing before we even crank the Polaris up. We want to just make sure that the computers are talking to one another, gauges are lighting up, and things like that. So when you do this,
All right, that's good.
just turn the power on and just cycle through
Okay.
your gears. Make sure that the speedometer is reading all the changes and that you do get your safety backup beeping going on. If at any point in time this thing is not registering, we need to go ahead and let the garage know immediately that there is an issue so that we can go ahead and get that fixed. These are all safety measures, and these are just important things to have working. Okay, now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or at least it was the elephant in the room for a few years, and it's been that way since I was here when we had different crews and everything, and that's going to be loading the bikes. Now, there have been lots of iterations on how to load the bikes on the back of that Polaris in the last 2 years that I've been here, and I'm just going to talk to you about the way that I think is the most efficient, the safest, and it protects our equipment the best. Now, you may have a different set of opinion, and I encourage lots of different thought patterns and whatnot. I just ask that no matter how you load the bikes on, that you keep in mind that the bikes are expensive pieces of equipment, and that we need to make sure that we do our best to try to take care of them when we're not in emergency situations. That's all I'm asking. So at one point in time, everybody was putting the bikes on the same, I guess, section, and so the bikes were really tight together, and that was a problem just because when you put them together like that, a lot of times the seats were having to be jammed up against the handlebars. And I do remember a few times we had some brake lever issues because we ended up jamming the brake lever against the nose of the seat. There were times where the cabling and the brake hoses were kind of kinked up and things like that when you were trying to take them off and things got stuck. So it's not a good practice to put the bikes so close together. The way that we like to do it is that we put one bike on one section and then put the other bike facing a different direction on the other section. That way you got plenty of space to take them off and move it pretty quickly if you need to. You don't have to worry about the equipment getting tangled up, and we don't have to worry about any unnecessary damage happening to the bikes. Now, with all that being said, we need to still do that, but we also need to make sure that the bikes are locked down safely, make sure all the straps are connected, and make sure that we check before we pull off to make sure that the bikes are secured. All right, here's a quick video just showing unloading of the bikes, and you'll see some of the things
All right, I'm good.
that I
You ain't
was
gonna take
talking
video
about.
of
He's going to
Sam,
go ahead
right?
and take the strap off.
No.
And see, this is why we like putting that space in between them is because you see how
Be
fast
fine.
that
I'm just
first bike
showing the.
came off. There wasn't a trying to untangle anything or finagle stuff. And we've all had that issue where we've had to do that.
All right.
So I just think that that is just a more practical way to pack the bikes.
All right, I'm good.
Okay, next thing. This right here is just a quick snapshot of what the bikes look like when they're properly loaded. One thing I want to bring to your attention is the wheels on the back of the on the rack, the two bike wheels. We want to do our best to keep those in line with the Polaris if at all possible. We don't want to stagger those, and we don't want them to where one is jutting out further or beyond the width of the Polaris itself. The reason being is because when we're trying to navigate through, some tight situations, or if we're going in between bollards, things like that, this right here is going to be a major limiting factor for us. God forbid we go down the road and we're on the greenway or something, and we didn't align our bikes, and we have a bike that's sticking out, and we accidentally hit one of the pedestrians that we're trying to pass. You just caused the 1050 right there. So take the few extra seconds just to make sure everything's in line, and it's going to save us a headache. All right, here's two examples of instances where the alignment of the tires or the alignment of the bikes on the back of the Polaris are really important. Now we're at the apartment complex right by the station, and we wanted to show two ways to get through that. Now you see as he goes up, he's at a good angle, and he gets really close there to the sign there. So I think he made it, but got to be careful. Here's a better picture or better video because I was able to get right up on it, and you can see that they don't have much room for error. We're talking maybe 6 inches on either side. And this is really representative of, when we're going down that greenway, we got people side by side on us.
Thank you for
Yes.
all that you guys do.
Our pleasure.
Anytime the public says hey to you, you got to stop what you're doing and smile and say hey. So you see they're going through there. It's tight, it's tight. He's checking both mirrors. He's making sure that bollard is really close, but we got some clearance. He gets through and he's good. Now, the reason that I harp on this is because if we don't take the time to make sure that this stuff is lined up and is ready to go, we run the risk of damaging expensive equipment. Each one of these bikes is over $1,000. I'm not 100% sure how much each bike costs, but I want to say it was around the $1,100 to $1,200 mark. Then we have the bike rack on the back. If we bend that up, that's a couple of $100. Guys, we got to make sure that we treat all our equipment with as much respect as possible. We understand that accidents happen. Absolutely. That's going to happen, and that just means that you're using your equipment. But unnecessary things like this is what we don't want because that makes us look bad. It doesn't build the bridge that we need to with the higher ups, and it hinders us from getting more equipment or better equipment in the long run. So just take the time. All right, next one, the winch. The winch is a great topic because we don't use it that much, and I don't know if the other shifts really train with it much. But this is a great piece of equipment that if we're gonna have it, we might as well use it. We might as well train with it and learn its capabilities. So just wanted to go over some real high angle stuff when it comes to it. The winch can handle about 4,500 pounds, and we have 50 feet of cable in it. The hitch attachment is at the rear of the Polaris underneath the generator. The winch plug for the power source of the winch is going to be located at the back of the Polaris as well. And we're going to show you something interesting about that, something that you got to be careful of. And the plug itself for the remote is located at the front on the driver's side. Okay, so we're going to see this winch setup here. Now this thing right here comes in a nice case, and keep in mind this thing is very heavy. We usually keep this in the back of the Polaris, tucked up underneath one of the seats. But just keep in mind that when you grab this, it is not light. So just make sure you use proper lifting mechanics. The winch is held in place in the back by a what is that? A pin and a cotter pin. And then you just need to go ahead and plug up the power source. Now, here's the interesting part. You see in the picture how the cap wasn't on the plug. Nobody has been keeping that plug covered, and as a result, it was filled full of dirt,
Stop the
clay.
damn video.
So now we have to clean out this part here. This is something that we need to be
There we
looking
go.
for when we're doing our daily inspection, because on the off chance that we're called to action and we have to use our winch, we cannot sit there and say that we can't use the winch because our plug is dirty. That's not going to be a good excuse. So when we're doing our walk around, make sure that we're looking for things like that, because
All
it's
right,
the
cool.
small little things that give us the biggest problems. Yes, I'm doing that. Okay, so I got two quick videos that's going to show some great information about the winch. I'm not going to talk during them. The reason that I'm having to play it up here is because for some reason the virtual desktop did not like the formats that they were in, so I couldn't get the videos to play. So now I'm having to post this up on YouTube, and we have access that way. So enjoy this and learn a lot. We'll talk about it in just a minute.
If you own your ATV or side-by-side long enough, one thing that is guaranteed, you will get stuck at some point. And when you have to use your winch, we want to make sure that you have these tips to keep you informed in that event. Now, one thing we like to use is what's called a tree saver. This is a nylon strap that'll actually go around the tree and save the tree from the steel winch cable. The steel winch cable damages the tree and creates issue with the plant, and we don't want to do that. Another thing to keep in mind is have a great pair of gloves. The last thing you want to do is grab a steel leader off of a winch and have little shards of that steel break off and poke you in your hands. There is nothing more annoying than trying to dig that out after your ride. Now, when you use your winch, make sure that you use your winch in short bursts. The last thing you want to do is hold that button down, because it puts a lot of strain on the motor on the winch as well as the electronics in your ATV or side-by-side. And one final thought is, when the winching's over and you're out, make sure that you pull your winch cable back out and disperse it evenly across the spool, so that number one, it doesn't damage the cable, number two, so that it's ready to use next time you get stuck. So the next time you get stuck, keep these things in mind. It keeps you safe and it keeps your winch working for years to come.
All right. So I learned a lot from that one. I didn't even think about using gloves, but I definitely can understand why you want to do it. I didn't think anything about using the winch in short bursts. That was just a lot of good information for me. Now, the tree protector, that may not be practical for us, but it's still good information to have and to try to implement from time to time. Now, here's a real life example of how to use a winch, and it's going to show you the proper way to winch something up.
There's no doubt one of the most popular off-road topics that we get questions on is winching. And I'm always telling you guys, know before you go, know your equipment, get to know all of it before you actually get out and use it. Stretch your cable. There's a lot of things I'm going over with you all the time. It's repetitive, but there's a lot of people out there that don't know what they're doing. And this video right here is a perfect example of why I'm so adamant about know before you go. That's a new Jeep.
It is.
Hey man, you need help?
It should be alright.
You alright?
As long as the winch don't break.
You should help him. He's wrapping that around the tree. Like the hook in the tree.
Brady just said that's a brand new Jeep.
I did it on purpose. I haven't really got to use this too much, so I want to try the winch out.
So here's winching 101. You see this fella with the Jeep? Okay, he's winched super close to the Jeep, which means the winch doesn't have full power. And where's he going? You gotta look at your exit. So he's winching right to there. Where's he gonna go to get out of there? That's the question you gotta ask. You gotta winch yourself to an area where you get some dry ground so you can get out, or a safe area. And he's not doing either one of those. So winching 101 right there. And he's gonna freak out because that thing's gonna come up on its side.
Yeah.
He's just pulling it straight up over. See, that is definitely not the way to winch. That is no bueno. Nope, you gotta winch it straight out, not on an angle. Yeah, you're pulling it on an angle. There we go. It was all birds nested up. What we got to do is we got to see like where you're gonna go once you get out of that hole. So
Yeah, my plan was to just go that way, the safe route, but I mean I could go out and go anywhere else.
So you want to come out this way right here?
Yeah.
I mean maybe.
All
Maybe I'll.
right. Let's give me some. I'll get you to that tree. That's straight ahead.
All right.
That's what we want to do. We want to get you straight. Plus, if you have more line out,
It's stronger.
then you got more power. He didn't stretch the winch cable, so what he did is he pulled it down through the existing wrap. At least he's using a tree trunk protector.
Yeah.
I learned an awful lot on it.
Yeah, that's all right.
I appreciate the help for
Yeah,
sure,
no
man.
worries. Anytime, man.
I'm gonna call.
Yep,
I'll put it down.
on there. Yep,
Yeah.
there you go. All right, man. I'll see you.
Yeah, definitely.
Take care. You bet. This is not the place to come to learn how to winch. That fella there helped him get his new Jeep out of that big mud hole and helped him winch it. And he said, yeah, I'm kind of new to this. I could tell. You know, you want to learn how to winch before you actually get in a winching situation. That's how you break stuff. That's how people get hurt. So you just got to be careful. He's stuck in a big old sippy hole area that he has no business being in. He's got regular just street tires. You know, it's all but a brand new Jeep. I mean, it's not a place for him.
All right. So I wanted to put that up there because it definitely gave a, real life example of how you should winch, and it gives you food for thought. You know, don't winch at an angle. Have an exit plan. Figure out where you're going. All those types of things. Stretch out the cable because it gives you more strength. I didn't think about any of that stuff, so it was good to know.
There's no doubt.
Okay, now let's talk about the real simple stuff. It's going to be stretcher ops. Uh, Now this right here is very easy because this is old school. We do not have the new powered stretchers like you see on the back of the ambulances nowadays. This is the old school hydraulic and leg power stretchers. So with that being said, keep in mind that this is a one-person operation when it comes to offloading, but it is a two-person operation when it comes to loading. Once you get that stretcher up on the lip, somebody has to be there to help you to collapse the legs in itself so that you can push it back up there. We don't really use the stretcher that much. At least I've never really seen it in use. I think I've seen it one time during a downtown event, but it is still a great piece of equipment to have because who's to say that we don't find somebody on a Polaris accessible part of the trail and we need to take them out? Anything can happen. So it's always good just to make sure that we go over the old school binary type of stretcher. There's no battery on this, so we need to make sure that we know how to lift it up safely, how to lower it safely, all that good stuff. Here's just some basic pictures just to remind you of what it looks like and what you need to do. Here's the pictures of Kevin. He's pulling it out, and okay, yeah, that was bad. He's implementing the equipment. This is why I need a co-host here because it helps me to stay focused. Wow. Uh, anyway, this is how you use it right here. Just be careful when you're going back with it so that you don't pull it so far that you actually pull it off the back of the Polaris before the legs drop. Okay, some more very basic stuff. We want to treat this pretty much like any other piece of equipment when it comes to the fire service. We want to keep a minimum fuel level of 3/4. It takes regular 87 octane. We are not putting in mixed gas in it or mixed fuel. We want to check to make sure that the oil level is at its proper level. And no, we are not responsible for changing the oil. But if we take the time to look at the things like the oil dipstick and stuff, it gives us a lot of information about our piece of equipment. Like, is the motor wearing too fast because the oil level it keeps falling because it's burning so much oil, or is there a leak that we need to be aware of because again the oil level is falling. When we look at the oil on the dipstick, does it look like it has glitter in it? That means something is grinding in there. You could have a piston that's wearing itself out, or you can have a main bearing that's being grinded away. All these types of things, which are very very important for us to know because it It helps us to know the status of our equipment and how reliable it's going to be. All that stuff is found in the oil. But with that being said, does anybody know where the oil dipstick is? Now, what we did is we removed the quote unquote hood of the Polaris, and it's not actually a hood, it's the seat. All the guts and everything are actually under the seat of the Polaris, and we had to find the oil dipstick. Now, I want you guys to take a look at this picture here and tell me where you see the oil dipstick. I'll wait. 5, 4, 3, 2, right there. This little button is a black cap with yellow writing on it, and it can easily be overlooked depending on the angle at which you're looking underneath that seat. If you're looking directly over top, or if you're looking from the passenger side, you won't see this at all. So you have to look at it from the driver's side at an angle so that you can see it. All right, let's talk about the loads of the Polaris. We have a workhorse. I didn't realize how strong this Polaris was. It is a Ranger 6x6, and you can look up on YouTube and see these things rock crawling and hauling off big tree logs and things like that. When we're looking at this at when it's in 6-wheel drive, it can carry 1,250 pounds roughly. When it's in 4-wheel drive, we're looking at 1,000 pounds. When we're doing our basic operations, we're not going to reach those types of weight loads, but it's just good to know that, when we need it, we have a lot of power in this. When we're looking at the speed of the Polaris, we're looking at around about 45 miles an hour is going to be our max speed. And, everybody who has driven it, we know when we're reaching the limit of it, because it starts to huckabuck. You start to smell that belt burn, and it just doesn't go any faster. So just keep that in mind. We do not want to keep redlining this thing, because what's going to happen is we're going to prematurely wear the belt, and either the belt is going to stretch to the point that it no longer grabs onto the pulley system, or it's going to just fray and break all on its own. And once either one of those happens, the Polaris is dead in the water. It won't move. So we got to make sure that we're taking care of our equipment and pay attention to it. When we're talking about the speed during climbs, it's pretty much a use your best judgment type situation. Some climbs we can go fast and it's okay, but other climbs, if you go too fast, you're just going to spin out, and you need to slow down and go to a creepy crawly status. I can't show this one like I wanted to, just because I can't fast forward it, but this video right here shows a Polaris Ranger 6x6 hauling away some freshly cut logs on the tractor. So I just wanted you guys to be able to see that. Unfortunately, I can't fast forward. but just know that we have a lot of power in this equipment. Now let's talk about the ground clearance. This Polaris is strong enough to climb some very steep climbs and to handle some very heavy loads, but the primary limiting factor of either of those is going to be that bike rack in the back. Uh, if you go on too steep of a climb, that bike rack is going to dig into the ground, and once it starts digging in the ground, we're doing damage to our equipment. We're going to be bending the bike rack, and then when we're trying to back up to get back to a flat level, we're probably going to end up digging that rack back into the ground, and that's just going to cause even more damage. So we have to be very cognizant of what we're doing when we're trying to negotiate certain obstacles and things like that, like creek beds and stuff, because as long as that bike rack is attached to it, that's going to limit what we can do because we don't want to damage any of that. Now, we actually did not stage this photo right here. It actually happened to us, and it was a great thing because it was an accident, but it was an accident that we learned from. And unfortunately, in the fire service, in the culture, everybody's afraid to make a mistake. And it shouldn't be that way. If we make a mistake, as long as nothing was seriously damaged, nobody was hurt, everybody goes home, it's not a bad thing, because that's how you learn. So we learned from this, that really you're looking at about a couple of degrees of an incline, and then that's about it what you can get with this thing. Now, this short video right here is going to show that bike rack get really close to the ground on this really small, I guess, rut. It's not even a creek or nothing like that. It just has some water in it. But if you pay attention to the back side, you'll now look to the right. You're going to see right there with how close that bike rack got to the ground. That wasn't a very deep pothole by any stretch of the imagination, but these are the types of things that whoever the driver is for the Polaris on that day, they need to be thinking about that type of stuff when they're trying to pick their best route. All right, getting close to wrapping it up here, let's talk about cleaning. Cleaning it's a very interesting topic because some shifts do it a lot, other shifts don't do it at all. And it is what it is. But I just want to make sure that everybody has a good foundation so they know how to clean this Polaris, so that when it needs to be done, at least everybody knows, the proper way to do it. We don't have to worry about any equipment being damaged. This is going to be very similar to cleaning the fire truck, with the exception that we're going to actually scrub the inside of the passenger compartment on this. When we're out there in the woods and things like that, you get lots of mud and clay and other crap that just happens on the wood, on the wood floor or earth floor, and it just makes its way into the compartment. So we need to make sure we clean that out. When we're trying to clean this stuff out, we need to be careful about how much water pressure we are pushing on the gauges, and we also need to take the time just to take the equipment out of the back of the Polaris and off the and out of the inside of the Polaris, because we have sensitive electronics. We have those cell phones in there. We have pieces of equipment that could rust, like our axe and our bolt cutter. We even have our go bags and things like that that's holding items like the AED, dressing, bandages, all this type of stuff. So we got to be careful. Go ahead and take the time, take a few extra minutes to take that stuff off so that we can go ahead and do a good scrubbing up there. And before you put that stuff back in there, the areas where you're going to put it back, please make sure that you dry it off, because there's no point in doing a good cleaning and then not doing a good drying in the areas, and we put our bags back in the wet puddles, or put the phones back in the area that's still damp. All that can cause some damage, so we don't want to do that. And I think that's actually it, because when I click this button, it's going to cut it off. So, guys, I want to say thank you so much for spending the time with me. I know that I talked a little bit more than I wanted to, but again, this is evolving. This is something new for us. I didn't have a co-host, so I wasn't able to keep myself on track like I normally can. But I really think that this is the beginning of some really cool things for our team and for the department. I can't wait to see the growth, and I'm definitely open to any suggestions from anybody. If you have any critiques, I'm open to that. I know I left some things out, but definitely let me know, so the next time we do something like this, we can make sure everything gets covered. Guys, be safe out there, and I'll see you on the next shift. You know what? I thought that the other one was the last slide, so yeah. did all that love a little too early. So yeah, thanks for having fun with me. And again, I'll see you guys on the next one.